All right, Jacob, let's move along now to offensive line. And I saved this for last because I feel like we've hit this pretty heavy. I don't know if you agree or not. We've really, really dove into offensive line in terms of the draft process. So I feel like we've covered it pretty well. We're still going to hit it today because the All-Star week obviously has wrapped up. And you'll see this gentleman over here on the right side of your screen that's just an absolute dog. And Jennings dog. You got the bright red Iowa waterfall there. Also on the left there, you got Jake Slaughter, who I think is the best center in the draft, mainly because Connor Lew tore his ACL. Even if Connor Lew was healthy, Jake Slaughter would be the top center, although Connor Lew would be a little bit closer to Jake Slaughter than everyone else. Again, the injury, some are saying he won't be back till October. Some are saying, no, he's Superman. He'll be ready for week 1. It may be somewhere in between, right? But Jake Slaughter and Jennings Dunker, I put them at the top here for a reason. Now, we got to go a little bit quicker on this one because we're going to be covering interior offensive line in one section and then offensive tackle in the other, okay? So let's start with interior offensive line. And I know I'm going to butcher this name. I don't know if it's Loani or Lone or Lone, offensive lineman out of Memphis. 18.4 is the grade. And, I'm going to be honest, when I see Memphis, Jacob, I think, okay, that's not a big, prominent, huge, college football program. So you got to be careful with some of the quote unquote smaller schools or less popular schools. However, everyone agreed here. 18.4 for us. Daniel Jeremiah has him as the 11th best prospect. So he's probably going to be off the board well before we pick. Consensus Big Board has him at 20. PFF Big Board has him at 22. Emmanuel Pregnon, guard out of Oregon. He was at the Senior Bowl. We've got a 43.2 on him. All right. However, Consensus Big Board has him going at 32. Next on the list is Jake Slaughter. Now, again, this is our top center. They're lit up in blue. Connor Lew's in red because of the injury, just to kind of, hey, newsflash, guys, this guy's banged up. Watch what you got there. But Jake Slaughter, we've got a 44.4 grade on him as it sits right now. Walter Football had him at 50. Daniel Jeremiah did not have him in his top 50, okay? But the Consensus Big Board has him at 93. The PFF Big Board has him at 78. So a 44.4 for us. If he falls to 52, he's probably not going to make it to the 80s. He'll probably be gone before then. So it's like, okay, it makes sense to take him there. To me, Jake Slaughter, and you get this every year, Jacob, Jake Slaughter is like the safe pick for center. Like, if you take him at 52 and he's sitting there, you feel really good about that. Now, he may go before that. He may end up creeping up. Some are saying he may creep up into the backside of the first round. I don't know. We'll see how
he reminds me of a Linderbaum, where it's like, safe pick, just take him. You're gonna, you know what you're gonna get, and just like Linderbaum, he came into the league and he just was just steady Eddie, And that's what he kind of reminds me of.
And someone like a Zach Frazier, somebody we talked about in the past, right? Where it's just like, okay, I know this ain't the sexiest pick here, but he just seems like you have less of a chance of them being a huge bust, like a Josh Myers was, right? So next on the list is Connor Lew, 50.8. Consensus Big Board had him at 54. PFF had him at 64. Walter Football 46. He's outside of the top 50 for DJ. Again, I don't like taking Connor Lew because of the ACL, right? Like we need somebody you can plug and play right now, if at all possible, especially if you're going to use the 52nd pick on him. Next is a guy that just got added to the interior offensive line room, and that's Brian Parker II. It's becoming out multiple people reporting now that they're probably going to play him at center or guard because of his arms being shorter. So we've shifted him over from offensive tackle to interior offensive line. 57.8 for him. Consensus Big Board has him at 80. PFF Big Board has him at 102. It would look like a bit of a reach for us at 52, but let's say that everybody above him is gone other than Connor Lew. I would be okay with taking Brian Parker. He's slightly higher than Bo Stevens out of Iowa with a 65.0. Now, the thing about Bo Stevens, Consensus Big Board has him at 126. The PFF Big Board did not have him listed. Hopefully they do now, and we'll get that number in. So what you're looking at here, Jacob, and I want to get your thoughts on it and any prospects that you like here. Jake Slaughter and Brian Parker, if they're there at 52, it makes a lot of sense to take him, right? However, if you've got a cornerback that's significantly higher, like a Chris Johnson fall in your lap, you can look up and go, Bo Stevens and Keelan Rutledge in the next round makes a lot of sense too, if they fall that far. And you're risking them not falling that far. And keep in mind, Bo Stevens and Keelan Rutledge are not centers. So
Right.
If you go get a Tyler Linderbaum in free agency, someone like that, and say that's our starting center, end of discussion. If you do that, then you can afford to take a corner with the 52nd pick and then grab a Bo Stevens or a Keelan Rutledge a little bit later. Again, we'll go talk tackles in a minute, but that's the interior offensive line. Who sticks out to you here, man?
I think that's a good point. It's kind of like a if and then type situation. If Linderbaum gets signed, I mean, I feel way better about what we're doing. And then honestly, I probably would start looking for a cornerback just because I feel like that's the number 2 need that we have on this team. And even, the fact that like, it's not a guarantee, obviously, that you're going to have a quarterback that just slips into the starting lineup as a rookie. I mean, that seems really, really rough nowadays. We've seen it happen. Obviously, in Philly, they had a couple good ones that they just plug and played and kind of thing. And, a lot of Packer fans are sitting here sick about it. But where do you have Chase Bisontis from A&M?
Yeah, Chase Bisontis has been a really interesting one. We've got a 94.3 on him. Okay, he's just below Pat Coogan. Let me say this real quick, since I'm glad you brought up Chase Bisontis, because right above him is Logan Jones from Iowa, center, Pat Coogan, center from Indiana. Okay, it's not that we don't like those prospects; those would be great picks for the Packers. A 77 for Logan Jones and 84.8 for Pat Coogan. Okay, keep in mind the consensus big board thinks they'll be around at 107 and 140. So that's potential centers you could take in the 4th round, right? Now Chase Bisontis is right below them. He's listed as just truly a guard, 94.4. The problem, Jacob, is consensus big board has him at 65. The PFF big board has him at 91. So in order to get him, let's say that the rest of the league held true to that, right, with Chase Bisontis. 65th, if he's going to be taken at 65, then that would mean, okay, in order for us to get him, we'd have to take him at 52. Well, we've got a 94.4 grade on him. I don't like that. Now, Daniel Jeremiah, former NFL scout, however, he's got him listed at 49. Now, that's helping him rise on our boards. So what's dragging him down on our boards? His PFF grade in 2025, he was the 301st best guard in college football. That's ugly. Now, if you go back to the Jaden Reed effect, however, Jacob, the Jaden Reed effect is the number that applies for us the most. The 24 grade, he was 102. So that's closer to that 94.4. So that helped him in that regard. Now, the year before, you got to kind of throw that out the window. I think it doesn't bake into our number, but I like to be able to look back and say, did they do it for 3 straight years? He was 472nd the other year. Now, bounce back up to Jake Slaughter. Perfect example. In terms of where he ranked amongst centers in according to PFF grades alone, in 23, he was 9th. 24, he's 6th. 25, he's 8th. So Jake Slaughter, solid across the board. Brian Parker out of Duke, 122, 43, 6. Ascending player there. So Jake Slaughter, steady Eddie, consistent. And you got Brian Parker, who is an ascending football player. So, yeah, but Chase Bisontis, to me, as it sits right now, Jacob, it would have to be your 4th round, let's see, 2nd, 3rd, 4th. It'd have to be your 5th round pick to make sense for me.
Okay, gotcha. I like what Chris the trucker says. As a diehard Florida Gators fan, in a perfect world, give me Slaughter and Barber and Banks. Draft all 3, wishful thinking, but a brother can dream.
Absolutely. Hey, I know what you mean, man. I know what you mean. And there's a lot of Iowa fans that feel the same way about their 3 guys, right?
Yeah.
And you can really – what's mind-boggling, Chris, is like I'm trying to think of his name. I can't remember the head coach's name that got crap canned out. I could see his face, but they had to change coaching staff. They had to fire their head coach. It's like you see all this talent in Florida, and they weren't able to win. It's wild. And most people will say, well, it's because it's the SEC. Well, I mean, the SEC, when was the last time they won a national title, right? And don't get me wrong, there's a ton of talent in Florida. You kidding me? Florida churns out NFL prospects. Like, that's a hell of a pipeline where everybody in the country is trying to tap into the Florida market. So we got to move along here to offensive tackle. Jacob, try to keep your tongue in your head here as we see our boy.
That's my boy.
Does that just not look like someone that would have been able to play right alongside Josh Sitton? Like, he just looks, absolutely awesome. So I hope we find ourselves in a situation where if Jenny Dunker is on the board at 52, run the card. Run the freaking card. However, I don't know if he'll be there because his stock is skyrocketing. So let's look at some of the top offensive tackle. Billy Napier, you got it. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate you, man. They fired him 2 years too late, and I think all Florida fans agree with you. All right, so Spencer Fano out of Utah, 12.2 grade for him. Francis Muaga, if I'm saying it right, Muagoa, out of Miami, a 12.9 for him, and he's projected to go top 10. These guys will be long gone before we pick. Caden Proctor, offensive tackle out of Alabama, a 20.0 for him. The consensus big board has him in the 19 spot, right around where we think. Now you got Jennings Dunker. Okay, Jennings Dunker, 25.8.
Dunker?
I hardly know her. He's a 25.8 on our board. However, the consensus big board had him at 34. The PFF big board had him at 44. When we do mock drafts with the consensus big board, he's actually available, right? So it's like, okay, we should be able to go get him. Well, the problem there is their information suggests he's going to be gone long before we get to 52. Now, what gives me hope that he might be there, Jacob? Daniel Jeremiah's top 50. He's not in his top 50. Now, that may change now, right, after coming out of Senior Bowl week, but we're going to keep these numbers in because this is how people felt before all the hype trains started. So that gives me a little bit of hope. Walter Football, not in the top 50. So what you've got is the PFF big board says he's going to be gone. The consensus big board says he's going to be gone. However, Daniel Jeremiah says he'll be there, again, pre-All-Star week. Walter Football says he's going to be there. And then also when we do the mock draft simulator with the consensus big board, they say he's going to be there. So you got three sources that are saying, hey, there's a realistic chance. And I go back to Dumb and Dumber and say, so you're telling me there's a chance?
What's all that 1 in a million talk?
Yeah, he's probably going to be gone, Jacob, unfortunately. But you and I can pray and hope and have fun until the draft gets here. So
I hope so. I mean, the guy just absolutely seems just like a match made in heaven. I think there was a comment earlier. Gosh darn it, I unerased it, but I think it said basically he's the Tucker Kraft of the offensive line. And that's like that to me is the highest praise. If you say I'm the Tucker Kraft of anything, like you can say I'm the Tucker Kraft of taking a, you know what, and I'm like, well, I'm pretty good at it then, like it just looks like he fits the part, man.
He's got some of the ink that looks like jailhouse tats, right? You love it, love that, right?
Let's go.
And then notice this too. Rest in peace to Paul Walker, but my gosh, does that not look like a beefed up Paul Walker over there? Goodness gracious.
It does kind of
look just like him, doesn't it? So anyway, all right. So let's try to pick out a couple here. I'm going to just name a couple that look like they would make sense. And again, I'm happy that a lot of these guys don't match up, Jacob, because we need interior help. And what scares me is us taking an offensive tackle and kicking them to guard and it not working out as good. Now, Brian Parker, that's a different story, right?
That's kind of what Mr. Real Deal is saying right here. I want to draft an O-Lineman for their position of experience, not another guy we move around. And I completely agree with that. I'm kind of sick of that whole song and dance.
Yeah, I completely agree, man. I want to give a shout out to the Toddler 442 says, finally caught you boys live. Digging the show, fellas. Go Pat, go. Thank you so much. The Toddler, we greatly appreciate it. We got a bunch of new viewers, and you guys are helping get this show in front of a lot of other people. If everybody would just take a quick second, spin those laces, hit that like button for us so other Packer fans can find this podcast. We're going to be going live daily all off season. So welcome aboard, and appreciate you jumping in here in the kind words and everything, man. So a couple of names that grab our attention just by the numbers here. All right, let's look it over here. Blake Miller out of Clemson, offensive tackle, 41.8 grade. 57th on the consensus big board, 79th on the PFF big board. Daniel Jeremiah has him at 23. If he's there at 52, I'd be okay with it. Be a great pick. Not ideal. I don't want to try to kick him into guard, okay? And there may be a couple like Brian Parker that we talked about that played tackle and they're projecting offensive guard. That's different. But Jordan Morgan played left tackle his whole career. He's going to be a tackle, and then you kick him to right guard. Hate that. Absolutely hate it, right? So that's one that pops. Another one here that would be good value, and this is one of my favorite prospects. He dominated the Senior Bowl, Jacob. I mean, absolutely dominated. It's Max Iheanachor, if I'm saying the name right. So Iheanachor –
is that Arizona State guy?
Yeah, from Arizona State. 60.0 grade. Consensus Big Board has him at 71. PFF Board had him at 118. Daniel Jeremiah had him at 42. He's probably going – or 41. He's probably going to be gone when we pick at 52. But if he's there, that's one I would love to have. That's one tackle I go, you know what? Too good of a talent. I'm okay with taking a tackle here. So that's a guy that comes to mind as well. And then the most value, and I know I'm going to screw the name up here probably, maybe not, Delby Lemieux out of Dartmouth. Now people are going, Dartmouth. Here's the problem with this one. If you remove the college, right? Let me tell you how I would sell you on him, okay? 71 grade, 228. Could you imagine getting him in the 7th round or the 6th round of the draft and getting somebody that's a 71 graded talent? Now, PFF grade in 24, not. We don't have a grade for 25. I'll try to find out why, and we'll light that up red if it's because of an injury. He may be hurt as
Dartmouth.
well. Yeah. Yeah.
Might as well be from Cornell. Have you ever heard of it?
Valdosta State, right? So that 71 is appealing, but again, small school. So, it is what it is. Like it's like Emmanuel. Emmanuel wants us to take every prospect out of Buffalo, right?
Yeah.
Buffalo's a small school. We got to be careful. Although it looks like they've got another Sean Dolak coming out. We'll talk about that when we get to linebacker. It's why,
or he wants a guy from South Georgia State, right?
His name is Red Murdoch. Look into Stackbacker Red Murdoch. He's battling an ankle right now. They're trying to get him ready before the start of the combine and everything. He was at, I think, the Senior Bowl or the East-West Shrine Bowl. He was on the sideline, but Red Murdoch looks like another one just like Sean Dolak. And people laughed, those people being me, that Emilio was so high on Sean Dolak, right? And, when we went and looked at the PFF grades, he didn't play a whole lot of snaps in the NFL, but he graded out in like the 90s. He was the top graded rookie, if I remember correctly, last year. So
let's not give Emilio that much credit. All right. Where do you have, just because I have to ask, Wisconsin offensive tackle Riley Mahlman? Is he anywhere in the vicinity of being draftable?
Yeah, we just went with everyone who had a grade of 150 or lower. Okay, so he did not make the list. Now I can look over on the board real quick. Let me do that. Offensive tackle. What's the name again, Jacob? One more time.
Riley Mahlman. Just because, guy from Wisconsin, his last name's Mahlman. Come on.
So this is strictly a name thing. I got you.
Yeah.
I got you.
Well, no, it's a Wisconsin thing and a name thing.
Oh, no, I see. Yeah. So Riley Mahlman, we've got a 213.4 on him. Now, here's the good news. Now, there's going to be other prospects available when we take our 7th round pick. I promise you there'll be guys with a higher grade than Riley Mahlman. But just theoretically speaking, we got a 213.4, which says he's worthy of the 213th pick. The consensus big board has him at 392. The PFF big board has him at 244.
Yeah, mock database has him at 286. So, So
it might be a 7th rounder or an undrafted free agent potentially, right? So Very interesting name. Yeah, again, it'd be great value with your last pick in the draft, according to our board. But like I said, I just know there's going to be a lot of other players that are higher than him,
Where do you have a guy named Cage Casey?
Cage Casey. He's not. Actually, there he is right there. So we've got him on our list here. Cage Casey, we've got an 81 for him. He's 104 on the consensus big board, 181 on the PFF big board. That would be great value if we got him. Again, there'll be other prospects higher than him probably at the tackle position when we pick in the 80s. But if he were to fall to, let's say to the 150 mark, then maybe in the 5th round, take him. That would be great value. And maybe that's where you do take a tackle, Jacob, and try to bolster the offensive line too, right? Get one of these great late round.
Do a Sheed Walker 2.0.
Yeah, right. All right, we need to wrap this segment up. So if you guys are watching this video back later, let me know in the comments, how do you feel about the offensive tackle position? Do you, and offensive line in general, interior offensive line and offensive tackle, do you feel the same way we do about offensive tackle? Like Joseph said in the chat, you don't want to go draft an offensive tackle and kick him to guard unless he's projected to do that, right? You don't want to find yourself in that same situation, which there's precedent for that. Is there any of the interior offensive linemen that you feel like, yes, that's definitely worthy of the 52nd overall pick, or would you rather go corner? Let us know in the comments. Make sure you hit like, make sure you hit subscribe, click the bell icon so you're always here when we hit that go live button.